Okay, so now you look at me, pretend the camera's not there, and if I could just ask you to state and spell your first and your last name for me, please.
Yeah, my name is Robert Morrow. The last name is spelled Morrow.
And you are the Travis County GOP Chairman-elect.
Correct.
All right, so first off, start off by telling me why you decided to run for that position.
Okay, the number one reason I decided to run for chair of the Travis County Republican Party is because I'm so disgusted with the involvement of the Bush family in national politics and Republican Party politics. You have George Herbert Walker Bush, who in 1980 was involved with October Surprise, with criminal dealings with Iran to not release the American hostages until after the election. You have George Herbert Walker Bush, who was running Iran-Contra, running huge amounts of drugs being smuggled into America to support the Nicaraguan Contras covertly. He was doing that with Bill Clinton. George Herbert Walker Bush, long-time homosexual pedophile involved with the Franklin pedophile ring. There are two good books on that, the Franklin Scandal, the Franklin Cover-Up. You have Jeb Bush, who was running drugs during Iran-Contra when he was in his early 30s, and he's chairman of the Dade County Republican Party. And then you have George W. Bush, who I previously voted for, but he got us into the Iraq War. Hundreds of thousands of people were dead over there. He was supporting torture, supporting all types of illegal spying on Americans. So the Bush crime family would be the number one reason I got involved in politics. They're just disgusting, evil, awful people who should be in jail.
I guess how do you think that this role as Republican Party chairman will help with that?
Well, it's similar to Donald Trump. You may or may not agree with everything that Donald Trump is saying, but one thing that we can agree on, or maybe agree on, is that he's flushing the commode of American politics. He's taking out the Bushes in the Republican Party, and he's going to take on Hillary Clinton in the general election. And I think that Donald Trump will take Hillary Clinton and throw her head first down the staircase in American politics. And we might have a twofer, no Bush and no Clinton.
Okay, so talk to me about, you've obviously experienced a lot of backlash in the past 24 hours. How do you respond to what people are saying about you?
Well, it's like they say about me. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I'm the elected chair of the Travis County Republican Party, and I got 5,000 more votes than the other guy. I'm also, just as a side note, I'm the nation's #1 anti-Hillary Clinton activist, and I have a book called The Clintons' War on Women that gives you all the good dirt, all the real dirt, all the bad dirt on Bill and Hillary Clinton. So I just hope to promote, flushing the commode on the corroded, rectum of American politics.
So you said, from what I've read, you said that you didn't spend a penny on your campaign. You didn't reach out to any voters trying to sway them.
True.
Why didn't you do any of that?
Well, I had a key strategy. You don't need Karl Rove or David Axelrod to run your campaign if you're listed first on the ballot. So the biggest reason that I got elected was because we had a long ballot really it wasn't that long of a ballot on the Republican primary side, and people vote for the president, they vote for congressmen, they vote for judges. When they get down to Travis Party chair, they just click the first name they saw. And because I was listed first on the ballot, which I think is a key campaign strategy for any candidate, I won.
How do you ensure that your name is first on the ballot? How does that process work?
You don't. They flip a coin, or they pull straws. But that's what happened. But it's a good thing that it happened, because we get to have voice for my opinions, which represent many opinions of many people who cannot believe that this year we had a Bush and a Clinton both hilariously thinking they should be president of the United States. After all they've done for all these decades, all the crimes they've committed, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Clinton, something's wrong with that.
So I just want to get one thing straight. You think that the sole reason that you were elected is because your name was first on the ballot?
That was by far the largest reason. And also I had many friends and neighbors and political activists who know and like me and who voted for me, and I do appreciate their support. And I got a lot of that. But it was a combination, but probably being listed first on the ballot was the biggest reason. But I won overwhelmingly. It wasn't even a close race.
I guess moving to your social media presence, have to talk about this.
Sure.
How do you kind of defend some of these statements and posts that you
Well, I believe in them. A lot of times I'm very caustic in my opinions, but I always back it up factually. For example, sometimes I'll just ridicule these political figures who I hate. I'll give you an example. I'll say something like, do you think Hillary Clinton would swallow your cum, or would it be more of a Lorena Bobbitt type situation? And that's my way of expressing my utter contempt and hostility and dislike towards Hillary Clinton, who I know is a criminal, who murdered 76 people at Waco, who hires nasty private detectives to terrify Bill's sex victims and former girlfriends, and who is just basically a sociopathic, vicious, vile criminal. So, I'll use social media to kind of hold them accountable and to ridicule and mock and make fun of them.
And so, kind of going through your Twitter, it's Trump, it's Marco Rubio, it's not just Democrats, it's Republicans as well.
Isn't that refreshing? And so, like I said, Donald Trump is flushing the commode on the American political system. And, locally here in Texas, again, we have the Bush family, and I cannot tell you how noxious and toxic they are to the American political process and to the Republican Party. Not only did the last Bush give us this awful Iraq war, which he probably should have gone to jail for, but he destroyed the Republican Party. He gave us Barack Obama gave us Obamacare. So they're both complete disasters, and I use social media to tell the truth about them. And I tell the truth about their demented, bizarre, sexual shenanigans. I mean, I think that George W. Bush is like Rick Perry. Both of them were closet homosexuals. That's my personal opinion, okay? And yet they run around with Bibles and telling everybody how Christian they are and how religious they are. When there are a lot of homosexuals in Austin, Texas who can tell you what a queer Rick Perry is, and there are a certain amount who can tell you about George W. Bush and also George Herbert Walker Bush. George Herbert Walker Bush, he cheated on his wife with a longtime maid named Jennifer Fitzgerald. Everybody knows that. Every biographer knows that, okay? So yet he's presented on TV as some sort of man with great character and a family man. And then if you read the books on the Franklin pedophile ring, George Herbert Walker Bush was being provided young teen boys to have sex with. That is this guy who is celebrated in Republican Party councils. Not in my council, though.
So I guess, you're now going to be, as of June 13th, in this role as the chairman of the Republican Party here in Travis County.
Yep.
You don't think you have any political duty now to not publicly on Twitter say negative things about Republicans?
Well, the 11th commandment is thou shalt not speak ill of another Republican, and I throw that out the window. If they're misbehaving, if they're doing things wrong politically, they'll hear about it from me. And if they have a wildly hypocritical sexual life, especially if they're a married man and it involves adultery with strippers, hookers, and gay prostitutes, there is a prominent local Republican who I knew the manager of the Omni Hotel, the night manager, okay? And he would literally walk 18-year-old hookers up to this guy's room on the 9th floor of the Omni. Yet this guy is a well-known Central Texas Republican who runs on family values and Christian family values, okay? So I'm quite disgusted with people like that,
Okay. I guess, do you think now that you're elected that you have any duty to kind of hold back in what you say on, social media?
No. I if you think Donald Trump's politically incorrect, I'm Donald Trump to the 10th power. No, it's important that we have wide boundaries on free speech. I've noticed that Facebook and Twitter have really gotten into the thought police censorship game. I think that's a very bad idea. So in answer to your question, I'll probably keep making caustic but factually based comments on social media, Facebook and Twitter, going on into the future about all types of people: Republicans, Democrats, Lyndon Johnson, Bush, Clinton. Those are my main targets usually. Even Donald Trump sometimes.
Seems very sexual, a lot of penis, a lot of cum, a lot of sexual references.
Well, if you find out who somebody's fucking, it tells you a lot about them. You find out a lot about people being compromised. You find a lot about if they're loyal. You find a lot about if they will stab you in the back. So all these guys and women, like Hillary Clinton, for example, she's not some sort of victim of Bill Clinton. She was screwing her law partners, Webb Hubbell and Vince Foster. And once you understand that, the light bulb goes off. Oh, so you're not some little old lady at home, victim of poor little Bill Clinton and all of his hundreds and dozens of affairs and sexual assaults. No, you're a perp. You're a perp in this, and you're a facilitator of all of Bill Clinton. And, you know, Chelsea's the daughter of Webb Hubbell, not Bill Clinton. Folks need to know that. It tells you a lot about who Hillary and Bill Clinton are.
Seems like you think a lot of people are cheating, having affairs.
A lot, and the media covers it up. A lot of our top political figures are very compromised sexually. They're immense hypocrites. I think Barack Obama is a gay man who got married. I believe he was, when he was a state senator, I totally believe Larry Sinclair that he was having a blowjob and smoking crack while he's being, you know, sucked by a gay prostitute. That's Barack Obama. Bill Clinton, serial rapist. Hillary Clinton, rampaging bisexual adulterer. Rick Perry, rampaging bisexual adulterer. George W. Bush, this great Christian guy. Remember George W. Bush here in Texas running with the religious right? You know, if you Google George Bush, Leola McConnell, who's a Las Vegas prostitute, she talks about him filleting another guy, okay? And then you read the book, The Franklin Scandal, The Franklin Cover-Up about the Bush family, who like to pretend they're some sort of great family with character and integrity, and old man Bush is being provided boys in a homosexual pedophile ring, and he's really a queer that likes teen boys. These folks need to be exposed and excoriated, and oftentimes the media will cover it up, but I won't.
Do you have a problem with homosexuals or women or you know, gay people?
I love women. I'm like Donald Trump. I love women, okay? But I hate Hillary Clinton, who is a sociopathic criminal, you know, nut job. I don't like Barbara Bush. She's a drunken cuckold. She's the matriarch of the Bush family. You know, she's the one who says, haven't we had enough Bushes? She said that. And then Jeb Bush runs for president. Now, how absurd is that? Okay, I'm sick of the Bushes. Just go ahead and get lost. And that means you too, George P. Bush, who happens to be the land commissioner here in Texas and who really wants to be president, okay? So they use us, they use me, they use the political process, they enrich themselves, they're becoming tremendously wealthy. Both the Bushes and Clintons have done this. They get sweetheart deals, become multi-millionaires, and then they get presidential libraries, and then they get free Secret Service protection for the rest of their life that we have to pay for. How absurd is that? So I'm for flushing the commode on the American political system, both in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party.
Let me ask you something. How are there any women in politics that you do like? And
you know what? I think her name is Tulsi Gabbard. I think it's her name, the Congress lady from Hawaii who just resigned from the DNC to support Bernie Sanders. And she did that because she's anti-war. She saw how horrible the Iraq War was. She knows what a neocon war hawk Hillary is, and so she's not down with the program. Even though the Clintons dominate the Democratic Party, she is bucking the grain on that because she's an Iraq War veteran who saw how incredibly tragic that war was, does not want it to happen again. She's backing Bernie Sanders. So I happen to like that Tulsi gal out in Hawaii.
Okay. And so speaking with other people in the Republican Party here in Travis County, they say they are going to try to do whatever they can to either get you to resign or to get you out of this position that you were just elected to last night. What do you have to say in response to that?
They're pushing on a string, and I laugh at that. They have no legal recourse, you know, so who cares what they think?
Would you ever resign? Would you ever?
Very unlikely. Anything's possible, but it's very unlikely, you know. I like being the face of the Travis County Republican Party. Isn't it refreshing to have somebody new come in who's not a complete party hack, who's not always protecting criminal or demented Republicans who need to be exposed? Isn't it nice to have somebody who's the nation's #1 anti-Hillary Clinton activist as the face of the Travis County Republican Party? That's quite a feather in my hat, my cap, I think. So I think I'm a refreshing wind flowing through the American political system right now.
Do you think you're really the most qualified person for this job?
Yeah, I do. And so did the majority of the voters in Travis County. I think I won with like 55% of the vote. But won by 6,000. What?
54-46.
Was that the final score? No, I don't think it was. That was just early
That's what
vote.
you tweeted out.
Well, that was early voting, and then and so I did even better on election day. I think on election day, I think I may have got 57%. So I ended up probably winning, I'm guessing 55% of the vote plus. That's a pretty solid win in politics. So yeah, I'm the most qualified.
So you think people just voted for you because your name was the first on the ballot rather than?
Yeah, that's true, and the people have spoken.
And you think they really know who you are?
Oh, well, in a party chair race, whether it's Republican or Democrat, there are probably only 400 people who know who the party chair is in a given county, okay? And the other 50,000 don't, but they do now.
All right. Anything else you want to say?
Yeah. Oh, it's important. One thing that's important to know about me is that my true expertise and passion is the JFK assassination and Lyndon Johnson's role in it. And I have 400 books on the JFK assassination. Lyndon Johnson and the CIA killed him. I'm 100% sure of that. And that's yet another cover-up that flows through the local media here in Texas, you know, who still push the fantasy of a lone nut killing John Kennedy. You know, you have Mark Updegrove over at the LBJ Library who does PR work for the legacy of a mass murderer, Lyndon Johnson. You have the Texas Monthly and their absurd coverage of the biggest political event in Texas history. You have the Texas Tribune that the LBJ Library funds, has nothing credible to say about that. You have the Dallas Morning News that promotes the crackpot fantasy of a lone nut killing John Kennedy. So I think it's great to be telling truth on the JFK assassination as well, and talk about, you know, how Lyndon Johnson was a serial murderer, which many folks will not do here in Texas, but I will.
A lot of theories.
It's a fact. You know, you need to go look up Malcolm Wallace, who was Lyndon Johnson's personal hitman. You probably don't know that he killed a guy at the Butler Pitch and Putt golf course in October of '51. Did you know that?
Real quick, I'm gonna get some 2 shots.
Are we still running?
Yeah, I'm still rolling.
Okay. Yeah, what you need to know that he killed the owner of the. But you need to Google Malcolm Wallace LBJ, and then he was convicted of a first-degree murder. And what do you think his sentence was, ma'am?
Nothing. I don't know.
He was convicted of first-degree murder and got a term of 5 years probation, no time in jail. That shows you the dark power that Lyndon Johnson wielded in Texas in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. His people could murder, be convicted, and not go to jail.
So I just want to so you understand now that, like, you're in this public role. You said people may not.
No, I'm not politically correct. I'm politically incorrect. I'm like Donald Trump on steroids, sweetheart. So get ready to have some fun reading my Twitter feed and my Facebook. It's also very educational. And follow up the links that I give to that. Like, I'll say something caustic, then I'll have a link that'll follow that. I'll say, gee, I wonder if Karl Rove and Ali Akbar were having a homosexual affair. Then I'll give you a link you can follow up and decide yourself. That's a question that I want people to ask. Were Karl Rove and this blogger, Ali Akbar, who had a Grindr account and who was a friend of Karl Rove, were they having a homosexual affair? You also need to Google the picture of George W. Bush kissing the head of a bald-headed gay prostitute in the White.
What's the problem with having a homosexual?
Well, you have to understand, Karl Rove and George W. Bush based their re-election strategy in 2004 by putting a lot of anti-gay marriage amendments on the ballot in 14 different states. It was one of their biggest pieces to energize the conservative Christian base who thinks that George Bush is a Jesus-loving conservative Christian man who doesn't cheat on his wife. So they're epic sexual hypocrites. You need to Google a picture of George W. Bush kissing the bald head of Jeff Gannon. He's a bald-headed gay prostitute who was posing as a journalist in the White House press corps. Makes me wonder if Karl Rove got him that journalist's past. Makes me wonder if Jeff Gannon was having sex with Karl Rove. Jeff Gannon was a gay prostitute, who was known for having being a top. You know what a top is and a bottom? Okay, Jeff Gannon was a top. And he's running around the freaking Bush White House like he's a stray cat. Just Google this. Right. Google it. He got exposed.
You have, I don't want to say obsession, but I don't know what other word. Like,
I just love exposing these sexual hypocrites in the Republican Party, especially these closeted homosexual He probably raped one of them, Ivana. If you might want to Google Trump raping
I saw your
Ivana.
tweet. Where
Google it. Yeah, there's a Texas journalist that's all over that. He wrote it. It was in court filings when Ivana divorced Donald. She says he raped me. She put it in her court filings. So I'm gonna have to believe Ivana in the court filings. Okay, I don't have to, but I kind of think that he would be narcissistic enough to do that.
would you say that you have an obsession with sex scandals?
I just love to skewer these political sociopaths on their demented sex. I take a lot of enjoyment out of doing that, exposing them for the hypocrites and frauds they are, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat, you know. I never do. I never say bad things about Jimmy Carter on my Twitter feed, do I, ma'am?
I guess I haven't.
You ought to check Toothless out of nuclear war in 1962. We came very, very close to that. And if he would have done what all the fucking experts told him to do at that time, who were gathered around him, who were giving him political pressure from the Congress, from his own administration, we've read books. Now, Kennedy was another guy who was sexually demented as well, and I love learning about and talking about that as well. But he kept the world from blowing up. So John Kennedy would rank up there pretty high on my scale.
Any politician, any former president that you don't think had a sex scandal?
Jimmy Carter. But you know, remember I talked about nuclear war when it came to John. So you have John Kennedy is one of the most sexually demented people ever to be in the White House. Yet he kept us out of having nuclear war.
Comes from.
It comes from these demented political criminals who run our society, who are so hypocritical, so high and pious, and so protected by the scum in the mainstream media who do not expose them for what they are. And a good example of that would be Hillary Clinton screwing both of her law partners, Webb Hubbell and Vince Foster, so she's not a victim of Bill Clinton.
Not the politicians.
No.
Your fascination with it personally.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that these people need to be held accountable and exposed for the vermin they are. And a lot of times when you find out who somebody is fucking, it tells you a lot about them. If they're screwing their secretary. I'll give you an example. The New York Times reporter, Judy, whatever her name was screwing Scooter Libby, who was the chief of staff for Dick Cheney, who was riding us into the Iraq War in 2003. And the coverage of the New York Times was the lead coverage getting us into the Iraq War, talking about weapons of mass destruction. Saddam definitely had it. So she's getting this from Scooter Libby, who she's screwing. Okay, so we're getting screwed too. So when you find out who somebody is fucking, it tells you a lot about them. If you find out a politician is secretly a gay guy and he's religious right on the outside, we have a problem there. Okay? The lying and the hypocrisy are the biggest ones.
All right. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay.